Welcome to It's Sybil. I am Sybil Wilkes, and the giggly, smiley people here are Myra J., Kwyn Townsend Riley, and Stephen. Yeah, they had another NATO out there, Hill. How you all doing? Steve, let's start with you. What's going on?
About 15, 20 minutes ago, we had a tornado right outside of Los Angeles. It was a tornado.
Montebello area?
That's the effect of it.
Yeah.
So, Myra, why don't you give us what you know about it?
Well, I heard that there was a tornado in Montebello, which is just east of Los Angeles. I don't think there's like death, but enough to rip some roofs off, and I'm sure scared the crap out of a lot of people because that's not common for the LA area at all to have tornadoes.
Yeah, they've been through it with all of this. So we'll.
Do they know where it came from? Like, has it been traveling across do they know where it came from? Has it been traveling across like the West Coast right now, or?
To be honest, I don't know. But
Myra is normally our meteorologist.
I know. I'm such a weather bunny. But I do know that the part of this massive storm that caused the tornado is headed toward the Midwest and places like Texas. Who'd ever thunk it?
Oh.
Yeah, we've had it for a couple of weeks in a row. The last one was Thursday, and luckily it went through right before we started the show. The week or two before that, it was a Thursday, and it started just 5 minutes into the show with Aprilette, and then it took us off, and then 5 minutes after the show was scheduled to end, we got power back. so it's supposed to come again this Thursday night, Friday morning, however.
Yep, so that's what they said. Texas, Alabama, Mississippi, heads up, everybody, be safe.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. So you all are okay weather-wise? Everything going well with you ladies?
Oh yeah, we had freeze warnings this past weekend. I got up the other morning to go somewhere. It was 29, and then tomorrow and Friday it's going to be in the 80s.
Yeah. Yep. So you might get some of that the swirling dervishes
too. Big storm is hitting here on Saturday, supposedly. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, be careful. How's the weather there in the Southeast for you, young Kwyn?
Yeah, Virginia, it's been kind of chilly, but it's starting to warm up this weekend. We did have some rain. I remember like last week, like spring showers, I thought, but like I think today was considered the first day of spring, and it was like 60 degrees. But I still had it like long sleeve jacket on, so I don't trust nobody 60 degrees at all.
Even as a Chicagoan, where 60 degrees is really warm for us this time of year.
It depends. Haven't you had like a 60 degrees during the winter, and it's just like, oh, okay, I thought I could go without, but like, no, I don't trust it.
Absolutely.
The weather has been crazy. We're gonna have to put winter out. Somebody just gonna have to snatch winter up in the collar and say, "You're out of here." It's springtime now.
Speaking of doing something with winter, Steve, you good?
If you can hear me and see me fine, I think that was the internet's out, and so now we're counting on the cellular of it all here in the tornado-filled Los Angeles. Tornado-ridden Los Angeles. LA NATO.
Wow. Did you go into the bathroom, to an inner bathroom where there are no windows or anything like they tell us to?
They have windows in the bathroom.
First of all,
okay. That's not a freeze frame you want, but okay. All right. Kwyn, why don't we move on to the What You Need to Know newsletter, and we'll talk about what you are talking about. The transgender care saga continues, this time in Nebraska, but someone is working on the behalf of people who are trying to get transgender rights passed in the state of Nebraska.
Yes, so the Nebraska State Senator Michaela Kavanaugh is heading into her fourth week of fighting anti-LGBTQ bill that would ban transgender healthcare for people under the age of 19. Nebraska is one of at least 23 states considering restrictions on gender-affirming care. LB 574 would ban puberty blockers, hormone therapy, and gender affirming surgeries, the last of which are done on a case-by-case basis for adolescents, according to the Department of Health and Human Services. As I mentioned before, gender affirming hormone therapy has been shown on average to improve mental health and reduce the risk of negative outcomes, including the risk of suicide for transgender adolescents and teenagers. And it is something that is supported and backed by the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Mental Association, and the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, and over 20 more organizations that support gender affirming care. Nebraska itself has at least 4 anti-LGBTQ bills, including a trans sports ban, a ban on people under 21 attending drag shows, and a bill that would allow doctors to deny performing elective medical treatment based off of that doctor's personal beliefs. The bill that Nebraska State Senator Michaela Cavanaugh is starting this filibuster for and trying to get folks, to not pass it, was sponsored by a Republican, Senator Kathleen Koff, and it was advanced by the Health and Human Services Committee to the floor for debate the same day a bill was proposing a ban on abortion. As I said, LB 574 would ban gender affirming care for puberty blockers. And just in this year alone, y'all, we are only in March. We're only in March. And there have been at least 427 anti-LGBTQ bills that have been introduced in 2023 alone, according to the American Civil Liberties Union, or the ACLU. So please, good luck to Nebraska State Senator as she's trying to fight this bill singularly, and hopefully the bill doesn't get passed.
That is a big good luck and a big wish in a conservative area like that. But definitely it needs to be talked about. But over 400 bills, they don't have anything else to work on in those states?
No, they are working on. They have an agenda. This is a clear, direct agenda that is anti-LGBTQ, anti-queer, that clearly conservatives and folks are agreeing on. That's just widespread. I was hoping this was just going to be one state, but like it's sweeping the nation right now.
It's sweeping the nation, is
it's
right.
Going from books to drag shows to gender affirming care to
Black history and yeah.
It's growing. This is a cancer that is affecting our nation, and I want folks to be able to just get in tune.
And the one thing that I hate is what they have described as their anti-woke agenda. Yeah. And I hope that we are woke enough to put them out of business.
I never thought I would hear white people use the word woke.
Certainly they're using it as a weapon against us.
Right.
And it is, and it's going, and you're going to hear more of it. Yeah. That they are going to be using this in the upcoming political season. So get used to it, and let's show them how woke we can be. And while we're at it, are you all registered to vote? Not you guys. I know you all are. Just talking to the folks out there. That is one of the stories in the What You Need to Know newsletter. Please go to sybilwilkes.com to subscribe. We would love to have you. It's absolutely free. Give us your name and your email address. We'll have it in your email box every Monday through Friday morning. Amongst the other stories we talk about, also out there in Stephen Hill land, the Los Angeles School District is shut down for 3 days. And kids are home from school. The teachers are striking in support of the Local 99 of the Service Employees International Union. This is the union of the essential workers that includes the cafeteria staff, bus drivers, custodians, and teaching support staff, including special education assistants. And they are there. The union is demanding a 30% pay increase for these essential workers of the Los Angeles Unified School District. They point out the average salary, annual average salary for the essential workers is $25,000, and that is below the poverty line in the state of California.
I was going to say, especially in California.
Yeah. So they are asking for 30% increase, and the teachers are saying certainly they deserve this when you think about all that they do to help your children every day. And this is not something that goes through as with a lot of cities, the mayor does not get involved in these discussion. So this doesn't have anything to do with the 100-day mayor, Karen Bass. But they are recognizing that 75% of the Los Angeles public student population is also at or below the poverty line. Wow. So no school, what happens? They have set up schools that are open for the children to come and to do their schoolwork and to have some place to go while their parents are working. And they are also providing the breakfast and lunches still that they become accustomed to, that they do require during their normal school year. So that is good to know. And I pointed out that I'm not sure how a lot of people feel about unions, but I'm the daughter of a Chicago public school teacher union member, and how they worked so hard for the betterment of the people who worked for the Chicago Board of Education. And I really believe in them. My dad was passed away before the Chicago firemen got a union itself, but it's necessary because otherwise these people are just going to continue to be stepped on and looked over as they require a better way to make a living in something that they believe in, and that's helping our children. So take a look at that, and also it's a 3-day strike. It's yes sir, yes.
Where has anybody talked about where the extra money to pay folks come from?
It's going to come from the state.
Which means it's coming from where?
From the state. Who
so
gives money?
There's not new money. Since there's not just new money that appears. Where would that actually?
Yeah, sure it is. It's abracadabra. Give the people the money. No, of course it comes from the taxpayers. Yes.
Okay. So whenever we have conversations like this, we sometimes get caught in the like more money. Yeah, it's great, without going like, oh, where's the source of that? What does that mean on the other end? And so sometimes I just throw that question in. They're like, so what does it mean on the other end? Does it mean higher taxes?
Does it mean? The Republican in me is saying, where's the money coming from?
And I'm fine, but like the money it's just not from nowhere. So I just always want to make sure that people remember it. And by the way, no one's a bigger fan of education. There's so many things that should go into education where it is somewhere. But like the point is someone has got to figure out where that comes from, or whether it's just due to additional taxes, or where it comes from on that side.
Lottery.
That's all.
That's what it's supposed to be.
Right.
That's what they tell us.
Yeah,
they tell us every time we go.
To me, when the lottery gets to such a ridiculously high number, like over 500 million, or what, so much of that should automatically go towards the betterment of the staff as well, because they say we put it into the schools. And as much as I've seen these lotteries supposedly pay out,
and a lot of the state lotteries
the
admit, no, the money is not going into education. And we just gonna tell you straight.
Well, there you have it.
And all that parking ticket money, all that bail money, where does that go?
Maybe into some judges' pockets. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. All right. Yes, so you're talking about money. Yeah.
But I think that Stephen Hill, you make a good point, and yeah, where does the money come from? And maybe we'll finally get a government that's run that can tell us the truth and also tell us how the money is being wasted, as we see in a lot of cities and states, and how the money is really being used for the betterment of our education departments and things like that. So we shall see what happens. Also in the newsletter, President Biden issued his first veto on retirement investment resolution. This happened this week, and he overturned the retirement investment rule that allows managers of retirement funds to consider the impact of climate change and other environmental, social, and governance factors. They call that the ESG when picking investments. Republican lawmakers led the push to pass the resolution through Congress, arguing the rule is woke policy that pushes a liberal agenda on Americans and will hurt retirees' bottom lines. While Democrats, it says it's not about psychology and will help investors. The resolution would rescind the Department of Labor rule passed both chambers of Congress with Democratic senators voting with Republicans, Democratic Senators Manchin of West Virginia and Tester of Montana voting with Republicans. It is unlikely that they will override the veto. They are making their point as they are getting ready for the next 2024 election cycle. That is Cameron Riley's story in the What You Need to Know newsletter. Also want to remind folks that we have other health updates. This is creepy. A super bug fungus is dramatically increasing started during the pandemic, and now it's dangerous, and it's tripled over the 3 years. More than half the states now have reported it, and they say that this fungus is it's called Candida auris. It's a form of yeast that's usually not harmful to healthy people, but can be deadly to fragile hospital and nursing home patients, and it spreads easily and can infect wounds, ears, and the bloodstream. And some strains are called superbugs that are resistant to all 3 classes of antibiotics, drugs used to treat fungal infections. It just makes you, and for people that, are getting blood transfusions and things like that, and if their immune systems are low already, many people have come to be affected by this. And as I said, resistant to the antibiotics that are normally used for this.
So there's fungus among us. That's the technical term for it.
I thought Steve was going to give me that, Myra, but you
No, I actually chose not to. Actually, that was a conscious decision. Mine is more like Earth fighting back. Like, let's be clear, Earth. Yeah. Like all of these things: COVID, fungus, global warming. The Earth is just fighting back. Earth is just like, I got more time than y'all do, so I'm just gonna slowly. Dinosaurs piss me off too, but let's be clear, dinosaurs piss me off. I was more instant with my solve of that problem, but this whole human thing, I'm just gonna take my. I'm gonna sit right back and take my time and sing it right. That's what Earth is talking to you right now. That's what Earth.
That's what Mother Earth is telling us, huh?
That's right.
Every week we also have an installment from our friends at Black and Missing, and this week the focus is on Matthias Guzman. He's been missing from Cedar Hill, Texas. That's Dallas since March 12th. He's a 60-year-old Hispanic male, last seen leaving his residence, and he was walking to a local store but never returned. And according to authorities, Mr. Matthias Guzman suffers from memory loss due to a previous car accident, as well as schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. They described the clothes that he was wearing and asked that you please go take a look at his picture. If you have any information and you may have seen him or whereabouts, please go to the Black and Missing website, to the foundation website, and let them know. And they do give you updates on that, good news or to the contrary, not so good news. So we talk about that on a weekly basis, as well as the wellness check. And the little known Black history fact gives a great story about Isabel Sanford. She played Wheezy on the Jefferson, right? And how she became the first Black woman ever to win an Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actress in a comedy series back in 1981. I know. Do you know the Jeffersons, Quinn?
Yes, I do.
You do? Okay, good. Yay.
Excuse me, Sybil. Somebody is clicking a pen.
That's got to be me.
Or
that's got to be me.
Yeah.
No, it's me.
Why does it
nervous
happen
habits.
to you?
Nervous habits.
Oh, gotcha.
It's clicking a pen or bouncing.
He's afraid the tornado is going to come back.
That's right. The Lenado. Right.
I think the NATO. All right, let's move to our question of the day. And this is a story that I worked on for the next day's newsletter. This is the 3rd consecutive day that there has been a shooting at a high school in this country. The 3rd consecutive day. This happened in 2 of them happened in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. One on Monday, one on Tuesday, and on Wednesday it happened in Denver, Colorado. For the 3rd consecutive day, some student has brought a gun to school and has used it. One child was killed Monday. There was a student who was wounded on Tuesday, and on Wednesday they were school administrators. And the crazy thing about this is that we're always talking about gun control and what they are doing in our legislatures, in our city, in our states, and in our federal legislators. But the discussion that Yolanda and I have had is about what can we do, and we're all a very intelligent group of people. We have an audience of very intelligent people, and so knowing that what is in place now is not working, gun control, background checks, even the metal detectors that the students are required to go through are not working. So as some of the people who, everybody thinks outside of the box many times, often looking outside and not trying to follow the rules or to toady up to some gun firm, ammunition company, whatever. Just if this world were yours, how would you solve the gun problem? And especially that we have in our schools. You just can't say, we'll make the age older, because in the case in Dallas, it was a 15-year-old who brought a long gun to school and shot into a group of students, killing a 16-year-old boy. In the case of Denver, it was a situation where they were patting down a student who has had a gun before. And this is a daily procedure they have with him. They pat him down. They found the gun. He pulled the gun and shot two of the teachers or members of the administration, and then ran. But they're seeking to find this child as of right now. And child, because he was a high school student.
Bullets
and
don't
in
know that.
the case of Virginia, Quinn, it was a 6-year-old boy with mental illness whose parents had to come and sit with him every day in class because of the challenges that he posed to the teachers. And on the one day his parents didn't come to school is the day that he shot his first grade teacher. Jesus. He brought a gun to school and shot his first grade teacher. So let's, one of the things I told that I said in the Why You Need to Know is that if we are to live any longer, and if you are the biggest targets right now in terms of shootings, and it's not mass shootings. In this case, it could have been worse, obviously, but we had one person, and one person killed, one person wounded on Monday, one person wounded on Tuesday, and 2 people wounded on Wednesday. If you are to live in this world and to make a difference, then run for office, kick them out of their jobs, and make sure that you come up with the rules, all of the things that you need in order to get rid of all of this, to get rid of the gun violence in our schools, in our society. Does anybody, and often we have these conversations, whether it's over an adult beverage or having a cucumber lime drink, it is something that we all talk about. We've had assault weapons a ban for 10 years. During the Bush administration, it was allowed to just go away.
Well, it's a great question, Sybil, but to be honest, I think it's like trying to put the genie back in the bottle. We live in a society, in this culture, in this country. It is a bang bang, root 'em up, toot 'em up kind of society. Mm. When you look at American history, when you look at our culture, when you look at our movies, damn, I'm seeing double. Okay.
Like, what happened?
Can never have enough Stephen Hill. Myra.
I know. I was loving it, but it's all about who's the baddest. Showdown at sundown. Blah 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 blah. For me personally, I would severely cut back access to weapons. And they're like, okay, Myra, but how does that stop it now? It doesn't. But who knows whose life we could be saving 10 years from now? we could be saving your grandchild's life. You know,
right.
It has to start somewhere with something. And there's no reason for a private citizen to have an assault weapon, period.
Yeah, of course there is. What are you talking about? Which of the amendments did you not read? Which of the amendments did you not read?
Not weapons, period. Not guns, period. An assault weapon. You don't need an assault weapon.
You could, but you have a right to have one. You don't need one. You don't need a lot of things, but you have every right to, because this is the United States of America. If we can't get global warming, global warming's only been a problem for what? Call it 40 years. The gun culture of the United States of America has been a problem for over 200 years. This is not going to get fixed. I'm an optimistic guy. This thing right here, as you've heard on this show, is not getting fixed at any point in time soon. This is a gun culture. We glorify it. Cowboys, mafia, rap videos, everything involves gun culture.
Look at the movies.
So there's not, yes, everything. This is not a quick fix. And we as human beings, for some reason, if it can't go kind of beyond our own lives, our own purview, we have a really hard time trying to pull it back. So the answer is to try to fix this for the next 100 years, but no one wants to do that because they see their rights being taken, and these liberals are going to do it. That's all. I want it to happen, but there's going to be school killings. It's not going to stop. Full stop.
Young Quinn.
Yeah, so I, as you guys know, I do identify as an abolitionist. And so one of the teachers of this work, Miriam Caba, she wrote this beautiful article for the University of Chicago Law Review. And I just had to type and pull it up so I can actually read from her words directly, because I think it really speaks to your question, Sybil. In my ideal world. So she says, meanwhile, a myopic, decontextualized focus on bodies and bullets without attention to the broader landscape of violence produce inadequate, unjust approaches in response. An abolitionist critique of violence, by contrast, offers a more accurate and expansive account of the material realities of violence, its causes and its consequences, and enables more meaningful ways of reducing violence. Calls for abolition animate a vital constellation of social movements in the United States and around the world. Movement participants have worked to end the violence of imprisonment and policing, and importantly, to create more equitable, just, and peaceful forms of collective existence through mutual aid and care, violence prevention, restorative and transformative justice regimes, and cooperative, non-extractive, and solidaristic economic practices. Through this work, participants in contemporary abolitionist movements have offered a deep reconceptualization of violence and expansive ideas about how to address violence. So in my ideal world, I do agree with Myra that I would want to not only just restrict the access to guns to children, but restrict our nation's access to guns in general. Because if we're going to talk about violence in Chicago, if we're going to talk about violence in schools, if we're going to talk about violence from Ferguson with police on board, we have to really go all the way back to the root about the violence that we continuously condone, that we as Americans have inflicted on others, and therefore that we are allowing to inflict on ourselves. And that is a conversation that I agree with Stephen that we're never really going to have, because war helps us get money, it helps us get goods. And we are on we thrive off of colonialism. We thrive off of our imperialism. We thrive off of our racist stealing and plundering and raping and pillaging. So I don't know if that is actually realistic, but in my ideal world, it is realistic. And that's what I would like to see, for us to have that conversation and just undoing.
So the point
that I was
thinking about. Go ahead, Steve.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think all those conversations they're great, and like we've talked about before, like the chasm between the real world and the ideal world, because all of those things, all those wonderful things that could get things changed, is the solitary man standing in Tiananmen Square in front of the tank, and the tank is going to win.
The tank will win every time.
The tank's going to win.
When you were talking about the history of guns, and it is the Second Amendment in our Constitution, and like, well, we can never take it away. That's what we thought about women's reproductive rights too, that, you know, it's in the Constitution. It will never be taken away. But it took them 50 years to do it, and it's got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Yes, Myra.
Okay. Sorry.
I have mentioned before. I saw some PR thing which spoke so clearly to me. It was a guy who came into an office with a musket, put the powder in, you know, put it down, loaded it up, shot it at his coworker, you know, or at the people in the office. But by the time they saw him loading up this musket, everybody ran. He went boom, and everybody was gone. And he stood there and he loaded it back up, put powder in it. And the crawl said, when they wrote the second, we have a right to bear arms, this was the kind of weapon that they used. So if you got a weapon, when they wrote this, you could get one shot off a minute. So to me, yeah. So to me, if they want to get out specific, you have a right to have a musket.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And we didn't have votes. We were 3/5 of a human being. We did not have, any of the inalienable rights that were guaranteed to our owners and others. There must be changes, and you must be specific in what you're going for. Myra, you're absolutely right. A musket was the weapon of choice.
I think I read somewhere that we're the only nation that doesn't revisit or edit our Constitution.
And that's the key there, Quinn. I agree with that.
I could be wrong.
No, we do. No, we do. That's what amendments are for. It's a little tough.
That's what amendments. But they also take away.
Mm-hmm.
They also they don't hesitate to take away. Like the 13th Amendment was gutted by the Supreme Court, which in effect took away the voting rights of Black people in the South. So, I mean, you can add.
I'm not arguing with it. Yes, but we do revisit it. It's just very tough to do.
Right. But that's where the power is, and we've got to be more mindful of people that we are running, and people that we elect, and what they stand for, or the fact that other governments, state governments, like in Florida, have gerrymandered people out of their elective power. Kevin Haywood on Facebook said, if they take this kid handcuffed to a tree, light his ass on fire live on TV, it'll stop.
Nope.
Wow. So I wonder if that would stop him, Kevin.
Wait, what?
Stop other people from using guns if they take a kid who shoots up a school.
And what does capital punishment to him?
Yeah.
Will that stop people from shooting us? No. Next question. No.
Tyronda James. It's quite a visual for me. Yeah. Tyronda James on Facebook. Here's what we can do for the gun issue. Put God back in the schools and in community. The problem is God was removed. No mental illness awareness. This is a bunch of crap going on in the world. People are more concerned with looking good on paper than helping anyone. So the answer is prayer and put God back in the schools. Can we pray this away?
No. And
there are some gun lovers that love God.
Oh, they say they do. Guns and God, and in that order, not necessarily God first, but
I saw a bumper sticker that said "Guns and God" in Harrisonburg, Virginia. So
I believe it.
I don't know if it's religion. I wish Jesus could take it all away. One day he will, amen. But
he will take the wheel, amen.
Right now, I don't know.
Darletha Rhodes. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Quinn.
I was gonna say mental health is real. I hate when people say that.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
On YouTube said, get the parents involved. A lot of parents don't want to hear from the teachers when it comes to problems or behavior in the class. A lot of them holler, not my child. What about the 6-year-old who found his way to where his mother kept her gun? Took it to school.
Talk about that. Yeah, right. We talked about that. There's no way that a parent should not be responsible for a child's action like that.
Right.
I don't understand how that's not. Feels like it should be in the Constitution.
Yolanda, give me the second part of Arletha. The child in Virginia shot. It should not have been allowed, I guess, to stay without a parent. Sounds like an IEP viola. Oh,
violation.
Violation. Okay. I thought they were referring to Viola Davis and How to Get Away with Murder. This is something that we are probably, I dare say, going to go to our graves arguing over and talking about finding solutions. And unless we do something politically, we're going to continue to live like this. And it's not just us. It's not just, sending our nieces and nephews and our grandchildren to school and saying, leaving it up to God. It's us going out at night, going to a Walmart. This is another discussion.
I ain't gonna lie. Some of what Quinn was talking about, when Quinn was talking, some of it I need to translate it for myself because I'm not that smart to follow that quickly. But what I heard her talk about was what I did believe understood was it's going to take human action and human protest and human organization, and it's going to take that to move it. I thoroughly believe that is the only thing. That's going to be the only thing. It's not bringing God back to school, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. Right? It's not praying it away. It's going to take humans bonding together to try to change the system that's going to do it. It's the only, and it's not going to happen for another 100 years. So
it's not going to happen any longer in this program because we're asked to move on, as you know. But this is something that we're going to return to, I promise, because we have gotten a lot of interaction and a lot of suggestions here. So we will return to this as we move to what's going on in the world today in trending. Quinn, you touched my heart this week with your story about meeting one of your idols.
Oh, yes. I met a woman that is actually on my poetry vision board. A woman whose poem was the first poem that I ever memorized. Trinity has this oratorical competition that my mom forced us to do, which I'm grateful for, but we were forced to do it. Back when I had to be like in 3rd or 4th grade, and everybody else was choosing Still Arise. I love Maya Angelou. Like, I definitely think she's brilliant. But I've always been one that just goes against what everybody else does when I feel like too many people doing it. Like, I've just always been that person. And so I saw this poem that was about chocolate. And I was like, what? Like, I love chocolate. Like, somebody wrote about it? Like, honestly? And I was like, wow, it's a real cute poem. And I competed in the competition. I didn't win. Okay, Still Arise won. But I chose something that I just personally aligned with that was like true for me. And it was a poem written by my soror, Dr. Nikki Giovanni. And so this past weekend, I drove to Mary Baldwin University, which is about 25 minutes away from me, where she was speaking at a Renaissance rent party. It was very 1920s, very color purple. They sang Seeley. They had Josephine Baker there. They had, they had so many people dressed up. All the Fly Guy hats, so like playing Big Wiz, very cute. And she was there and she was so funny. I had no idea that she was hilarious. I had no idea that she was so audacious. And she was just like talking about, how stupid transphobia is, how stupid, sometimes Black men can be, how stupid, society can be towards Black women. And it was just really heart pounding to see like somebody that, I don't know, that just really is your purpose. Like, breathe and like talk and like laugh and smile. And so at the end, when she finished, I was like, okay, I have to get a picture of her. So
of course.
I was like, hi, my name is Quinn. She's like, hi. And I was like, wow, you look like my grandmother, She said, we all are related. And I said, I'm gonna take that. I said, I'm a poet. You're the first woman I ever read. She said, oh, like that's so cute. I said, and restored. She said, oh, okay, we're taking a picture. And so then we took a link picture. And so that's my Facebook profile picture. I'm gonna make that my headshot on LinkedIn. I'm gonna put on a business card. I'm gonna get a poster.
Put on a t-shirt.
Yes, and I drove home like crying, and it just made me something. The main thing that she said that really I'm taking with me forever is how, unfortunately, as a society, we always seem to idolize people that are not in our blood. And she talked about when somebody asked her, like, who was your favorite ancestor? Who was your favorite ancestor? And she said, my mom, my grandmother. Those are people that I call and channel on. And so I'm learning to make or to appreciate the idols, the constellation, the galaxies of women that are in my bloodstream. First, like, before, like the Sonia Sanchez and the Sasha Shakur, because my mom is actually dope as hell. And so is my grandma. And so is my auntie and all the other women that raised me. So it was just a blessing. It was divine timing.
That's really cool. Really
very,
cool. Good for
nice.
you. Good on you.
Love that.
That is
that.
wonderful.
Nice.
It's a great story. I hope you write about it too.
I am. I definitely was like, oh, I should write her a poem and give it to her. But I was like, is that stalker? Like, would I not be like a stalker? It was like, I wrote you a poem. Like, let me just be in the
and call it "And Still I Rise." Yeah.
She's like, but
That's
why are
awesome.
you reading it to me in my living room? Okay.
Unless you brought tequila.
She's gonna be turning 80 in a couple of weeks, and my grandma will be turning 80 in November. So they're the same age. And my grandma was like, "Wow, I remember reading her books." And I was like, "You never told me that." Like, wow.
Oh, that's really neat. That's
New way to bond.
you. Good on you. Myra, you are out and about. Are you have any gigs coming up?
There's still the gig to be mentioned in
gig
April.
without a date.
20 minutes outside of Macon. As soon as I find out where it is, I guess they're still building the town. I'm not sure. They haven't told me the name of it yet. And I do have the honor of co-hosting a private event with Judge Glenda Hatchett this weekend, and it'll be a celebration for the great Dr. Bernice King.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, birthday celebration. So yeah,
that is awesome. Good for you. Good for you. Well, tell them both of them, as I said, tell them both I said hello. I love following Judge Hatchett. I really do. She spends a lot of time in her closet, and I'm like, that reminds me what I need to do.
the last time I actually saw her was in the DSW. Somebody yelled, "Myra!" across the DSW, and I'm like, "Hey, Judge, I didn't know she shopped at DSW." Okay, girl, let's get these shoes.
Okay. I'm with the judge. Stephen Hill, before we get away from here, we're going to ask for another weather report before we go too far when we come to the end of this segment.
Sunshine and blue skies after the tornado.
It's the hot cha-cha-cha weather report.
So check this out.
The rain on there, but like literally bright, blinding sunshine. By the end, however, it'll be cloud covered again. Watch this.
Yeah. It's LA after all.
Sharknado.
As somebody who had some difficulties in driving in your weather, get well wishes to Dick Van Dyke. The 97-year-old film and TV legend got into a car crash in Malibu. He managed to avoid serious injury. Police responded to a call of a single car accident this morning. And when deputies arrived, they found him behind the wheel of his Lexus, which he had crashed into a gate. He told cops his car slid. He lost control before slamming into the gate. The streets were wet from the nonstop rain. And as for his injuries, they said that he was bleeding from the nose and mouth and might have suffered a concussion. Paramedics treated him at the scene, but he had no interest in going to the hospital. Did I mention he's 97?
97.
They reportedly the cops have submitted paperwork to the DMV. That's not the district, Maryland and Virginia, the Department of Motor Vehicles, requesting a driving retest for Mr. Van Dyke, with one of the factors being his age. So we wish him, gray skies are going to clear up. Put on a happy face there, Dick Van Dyke, and hopefully you will be better and get a driver.
So this is the point. This is how I should point out that the part of this that affects me is that my mother's 96 and still has a license, and her license goes for another 2.5 years. Now we've had a discussion around that. She is still a very good driver. She is not unlike Rain Man, very good driver. She's a very, very good driver. Very good driver. But it is a concern. And when I saw this story, I mean, luckily my mother's not, bending curves in Malibu like Mr. Van Dyke. But I'm a little concerned. She's a year behind Mr. Van Dyke and still still driving that Honda Accord. So there's that.
I have an aunt on the south side of Chicago. I won't say her name, although I know she's not watching. But she's in her late 90s and still have a driver's license, and the family tries to discourage her. And the last time I went to visit her last year, and she was saying, "Oh, I didn't go to church."
Hey, Stephen Hill. I'm sorry, Myra.
I know. I did. I know. I stopped.
The pen.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
Myra. I was saying, yeah. So she drove to church.
Well, she usually drives to church, which means she pulls the car out the driveway and drives straight down the alley into the church parking lot. and I said, "Oh, you are going to church? You finally stopped driving?" She said, "Nah, my feet swollen. I can't get my shoes on." So she's still driving. We keep trying to discourage her, but she's like, "The only reason I'm not out there driving is because my feet swollen. I can't get my shoes on." So,
oh my goodness.
So some people are gonna go when they want to go when they want to go.
What I'm hearing you say is that I need to sneak in and buy my mother some shoes that are smaller than her size and put them in the closet. That's my takeaway. That's my takeaway.
Yes, this is our poor aunt. She and we've asked her. People offered to drive her and everything. Nope. And wait, will you like somebody go over there and take her keys?
Right.
Nope. She has the key. Nope.
Yeah, she's gonna have several pairs of keys hidden around the house because she's gonna forget where they are, and she'll just be able to go for that second, third pair. Yeah. This story came to my attention because it involves the very first car I ever owned. The Camaro is roaring off into the sunset. GM has announced the final 6th-generation Camaros will come off the assembly line at the Lansing Grand River Assembly Plant in Michigan in January. Vice President of Global Chevrolet did not say what will replace the muscle car, but said this is not the end of the Camaro story, but it appears that it really is. They started production on the current model of the Camaro in the late 2016. Its sales comprise a small part of Chevrolet's total sales, and it served more as a halo product like the Corvette to shine on the brand and bring in new buyers across the portfolio. Camaro sales were up a bit in 2022, about 12.5% compared to the previous year. For all of last year, they sold all of 24,652 Camaros. But American-made performance cars have been declining segment in recent years, and especially the muscle cars. And so, unfortunately, Camaros are going the way of most cars as opposed to most vehicles as opposed to the SUVs. That's where their money is going, as well as the EVs. The electric vehicles are definitely here to stay, and they're putting a lot of attention into that. So 1976 Camaro, powder blue.
What was her name? The car's name.
Powder blue.
Alfie.
Alfie? Okay.
Alfie, Alphie, because it was my first car. So Alpha.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. 2 inmates were found at an IHOP after escaping a Virginia jail using tools made from toothbrushes.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a scene out of a movie. Authorities in Virginia say the inmates were found at an IHOP. Where else are you going to go your first stop after you break out of prison? They were digging a hole with tools made from a toothbrush and a metal object. And according to the news release, the city's jail discovered the inmates were missing during the routine head count around 7 o'clock Monday night. They dug a hole through one of the jail walls using primitive made tools. I wonder if that was a soft brush or a hard brush. They constructed out of the toothbrush, and they helped them access untied rebars in the wall, which they used for the rest of their escape. And after getting out, they encountered more walls. They scaled a wall, left the area, according to the release, and they went down the road a piece to the IHOP, about 8 miles outside of the jail. And some folks there at IHOP said they don't look like they belong here, and they called police. The police came and picked them up, and they thanked the IHOP patrons. And sometimes you just really got to get there for that Rudy Tooty, fresh and fruity.
Speaking of that escaping and not belonging, did you hear the story where apparently Rick Ross's neighbors are complaining because Rick Ross's buffalo are escaping off of his property and going over to the neighbor's property, and one neighbor has kids 8 and 10 and said the kids are scared to go outside because apparently that is some real bull.
Because they left his home where the buffalo roam.
Yeah. Rick Ross's buffalo apparently are running around in Fulton County somewhere. I can't.
Meanwhile, Andrew Dufresne is typing, "You don't stop until Mexico." Dude,
what have we learned here?
Andrew Dufresne is like, "Dude, don't stop until Mexico. Then you call Morgan Freeman. Don't you understand how to break out of prison?"
I remember.
Quick quiz question: Do you know why? Why does Rick Ross have buffalo on his property?
Why, Stephen?
To get on the other
because
side.
when you have livestock on your property, the change in your tax base is astronomical. Right? So if you put livestock on your property, and I don't think there's a minimum. But it becomes farming. There's some way it becomes farming property, and your tax base, your taxes completely change.
Wow, I'm gonna go give me some chicken.
I just got a chicken. You know?
No, because when you're Rick Ross, you go big.
Apparently,
and buffalo. Wow,
buffalo are roaming. Can you imagine? You're just driving down the street in Atlanta. What the heck? Yeah,
American buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then you can have an award-winning play.
And it's not like one just like a pet, like that's our pet Billy the buffalo. No, there's buffalo.
Billy's got a family.
Right.
That is one part of entertainment. Here's the other. A new petition has been created calling for the warehouse to be preserved. This is the space that used to be the home to the renowned Chicago nightclub where Frankie Knuckles was its first musical director and marked the beginnings of house music. So established in 1977, the warehouse saw the owner, Robert Williams, convert a 3-story industrial building into a nightclub where the late DJ Frankie Knuckles played and pioneered the house music genre, which took its name from the venue. It became a cultural hub for Black and Latino LGBTQ plus community in the city on the south side of Chicago. Frankie Knuckles left in 1982 to set up his own venue called the Power Plant, after which time the warehouse shut down and was rebranded as the Music Box. So the building is at 206 South Jefferson Street, Chicago's West Loop. It was sold in December 2022, according to the Save the Warehouse petition. This petition has now been created with the aim to get the city of Chicago to recognize the venue as a cultural landmark and protect the building. Despite persistent outreach by Preservation Chicago, the new ownership has been unresponsive and plans for the building's future remain unknown, according to the petition. The listing for the building noted its potential for demolition and new development, which has happened to similar spaces in that area. That's the way of business, unfortunately. House music changed the world, and it began at the warehouse where DJ Frankie Knuckles created house music. That is the petition from Preservation Chicago states. Despite its extraordinary role in music and cultural history, the warehouse has zero protections against alterations or demolition. So if you would like to, as a former Chicagoan or one who is a music fan and appreciates house music, fans can sign the Save the Warehouse petition at change.org. And they are looking for at least 10,000. I think they're pretty close to it if they haven't already. But go to change.org and look for Save the Warehouse petition. And that's WARE house. So
meanwhile, some folks in Detroit will be like, not sure I'm gonna sign that.
Yeah. Okay. You know what, Detroit? That's okay. I think we got this. And Frankie Knuckles, God bless him. May he rest in heaven. But
absolutely.
We'll just hope that his memory lives on. They're able to save that. So it's time for our Yogi's Jewel, our daily inspiration.
We're there.
And a really good series and theme this week. Life should not only be lived, it should be celebrated. So inhale celebration, exhale sadness. Keep going, Steve. Keep going, Steve. Keep going.
I ain't got that much sadness. I ain't got that much sadness. It's not, there wasn't that much sadness. There wasn't that much sadness. I tell you.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, good for you. Well, keep the celebration going for sure.
I hope that. I hope that short breath. I wish that short breath for everyone.
Amen. Amen. I thank you all. I hope clear and sunny skies for all of you. Thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you all again soon. Aloha,
everyone.